For the best experience, put on headphones and write a comment, where you are from, and what time you are watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. My neighbors are vanishing. I can't pinpoint exactly when this unsettling trend began, but it feels like everyone in this small town is in on it except for me. I moved here just over a year ago, and the town is painted with greenery in every direction. Folks greet each other as they stroll along the sidewalks, and children can be seen playing on every corner. It presents the perfect image of a small town where everyone knows everyone else. I share this home with my two daughters, Violet, who is now 12, and Gracie, who just turned 7. We also have our loyal dog, Tyquer. He's 11 years old and well past his prime, with gray fur creeping in under his eyes and a laid-back yet affectionate demeanor that never wavers. My marriage fell apart 2 years ago, when I discovered my wife had been dealing drugs out of our home for nearly a year. What kind of mother puts her children in that kind of danger? When we divorced, naturally, I was granted custody of the kids, the dog, and our home. But that place had become unbearable for us. We packed our belongings, loaded the car, and left that miserable little town behind, hoping to find a new place where my girls could grow up surrounded by kind faces and beautiful landscapes. They deserved a fresh start after enduring all those court hearings and police interrogations. Upon arriving here, the house seemed like a true home at first glance. The girls quickly fell in love with the candy store on the corner and the small square that featured a charming little park. "Let's try it," they exclaimed with excitement. Our first neighbors were Samantha Brinks and her 13-year-old son, Malcolm. Like me, she was divorced, and we quickly bonded over our shared experiences. She had a warm, motherly face with a few wrinkles creeping in that were hardly noticeable. She had a knack for making a quick joke and insisted that everyone call her Sammy. "Only the best can call me that, so don't get any ideas," she would say with a laugh. Malcolm, however, was more introverted and reserved, especially around me. He was quiet, but got along very well with my girls. They often walked to and from school together, laughter filling the air as they chatted away. The Brinks family had lived next door for 5 years before we arrived, but after only 3 months of knowing them, I woke up one night to the unsettling sound of many footsteps echoing through the house. It was around 2:40 in the morning, and they weren't even trying to be quiet. "Gone," a voice said to me, delivering the news without any further explanation. In less than an hour, they had stripped the house of furniture, clothes, and even their car. I tried to reach out to someone to report what had just occurred, but my efforts were futile. I stood outside their empty house for 20 long minutes, deep in thought. Eventually, those thoughts became a headache, and I decided to give up for the night, retreating to my own home and collapsing into bed. From that night on, no one mentioned Samantha or Malcolm again. About a month and a half later, a new pair of neighbors moved in. Gaida and Alvin were an elderly couple who had been together for over 60 years. They had moved here from Denmark, and Jada shared that she had lived there her entire life, while Alvin playfully referred to himself as the luckiest tourist ever. I found comfort in their presence. They reminded me of long-lost grandparents. They were warm-hearted, helpful, and always willing to lend an ear. Yet, they were also quite distinctive, often discussing controversial topics with great enthusiasm. They were the type of neighbors who would call you if they heard a noise that seemed suspiciously too loud. But I never minded. To me, they were perfect, genuinely concerned about the welfare of my family. Then one morning, I woke to the blaring sirens of an ambulance slicing through our usually tranquil street. "Died in your sleep," one of the many men in suits informed me. They were back again, as if they had arrived the moment the tragedy occurred. How could so many people gather in one place so quickly? The scene was awful, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life. The loss weighed heavily on me. I had known this sweet elderly couple for 7 months, and grappling with their sudden disappearance proved to be a difficult reality to face. Then came my final neighbors, Casey and Donna. They were the proud parents of 5 children, and their pride was palpable. At dinner parties, they couldn't help but boast about their kids' achievements, showering everyone with stories of their accomplishments. We didn't quite mesh well. Their showy nature rubbed me the wrong way. They were intensely competitive, not just about their children, but they had to be the best at everything. Their kids were even worse. While I would never speak ill of children, these kids were an exception. Their youngest girl, Audrey, was caught at school making nasty remarks about my eldest, Violet. That was the last straw for me, the moment that set everything into motion. Filled with frustration, I marched down the porch steps, crossed the yard, and knocked on their door. They weren't pleased to see me and yelled at me for nearly 5 minutes before I could get a word in. As soon as they paused, I seized my chance to explain their child's behavior and what she had been saying at school. But they wouldn't listen. They twisted the narrative and painted me as the villain. I had enough of their arrogance. Closing their door behind me, I walked away, still simmering with anger. To my surprise, I fell asleep almost instantly that night. When I awoke the next morning, the first rays of sunlight were just beginning to filter through the windows. The house was eerily quiet, just like it had been on our first night here. I got out of bed, stretched, and walked over to the window, ready to greet the new day. But then I froze. The entire family was gone. After 1 long month, they were simply gone. I felt no surprise, no confusion, no fear. I was unnervingly calm as I went about my daily routine. I had seen this before, knew exactly what had transpired. It was as if, on cue, 36 townspeople had arrived and stripped their house bare, leaving behind no trace of their existence. Not even crumbs. I sat at the breakfast table, lost in thought. My mind wandered to my neighbors, their children, and even their pets. What is truly happening here? This isn't a singular event. It's happening to all the houses around us. Everything is gone, except for us. I am filled with dread. I don't tell my daughters about my concerns, about the eerie sounds I hear through the walls, or the unsettling nightmares that wake me in the night only to reveal yet another family has vanished. The only reason I'm compelled to document all of this is that I want it known. I want people to hear our story. It's now 8 p.m., and my daughters haven't returned from school. I can't shake the growing sense of dread.